Hello, my name is Heather Minnick, and I am going to be talking to you about my philosophy of education. There are many ways to view education. I feel that my philosophy of education is closely related to the progressivism view on education. I am going to inform you of several different aspects on my philosophy of education. John Dewey is the main source of progressivism. He stated, "Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself." The central concept of John Dewey's view of education was that greater emphasis should be placed on the broadening of intellect and development of problem-solving and critical thinking skills, rather than simply on the memorization of lessons. My view on teaching is most closely related to John Dewey. The first aspect of my educational philosophy is that it should be student-centered. I believe that teaching should be student-centered. I am a special education teacher, and most of the students that I have worked with do not learn well from a teacher-centered lesson. I like to make the students an active participant in all classroom lessons and activities. The next aspect of my educational philosophy is that we should have students learn through problem-solving skills. Abstract learning and problem-solving is a very difficult task for students with disabilities. What better way to help them improve their problem-solving skills than making them practice those skills on a regular basis? The next part of my philosophy of education is that education changes, so teaching must change as well. I have a firm belief that since our society and education changes with time, that we as teachers must change how and also what we teach. Many veteran teachers are stuck in their old habits and ways of teaching. They feel that since the way they did things in the past has worked, that it will work for them forever. I do not believe this is true. Times constantly change, children change, so we must constantly change the way we teach our children. We need to keep it up to date. Another important aspect for teaching is learning from past experiences. I encourage my students to learn from their past experiences. When beginning a new lesson or subject area, I always ask my students questions that require them to discuss previous experiences related to that topic. I usually ask the question, and this sparks a discussion between the students. I love doing this because it encourages students to discuss mistakes that they have made in the past. I think my students will learn from their mistakes if they discuss them. Other students may have had similar experiences, and hearing this will give students ideas on what to do differently for the next time they are in that situation. I believe the teacher should be a guide. Dr. Allen affirms in his lecture, "Progressivists say we learn from problem solving and that we put ourselves in a context of problem solving, which is what makes the world go round. We learn how to learn." I love this quote because I feel that teachers can give students the tools they need to teach themselves how to learn. I like to act as a guide for my students. Part of my educational philosophy is encouraging students to make their own choices about their lives. I feel they should be able to do this on their own. I want my students to know that they can control their future and they determine what they achieve in their lives. While the majority of my educational philosophy is centered around progressivism, I also pull bits and pieces from other educational philosophies as well and tie them into my own. Part of my educational philosophy also comes from essentialism. I like to focus on core subjects. I do feel it is important to focus on core subjects such as math, language arts, science, and social science. I also do my best to facilitate learning for my students and encourage the instruction to be centered on them. However, there are times that I need to directly teach something to my students. I cannot solely rely on teaching from a progressivism perspective. My educational philosophy also has a firm belief on back to basics. I feel that back to basics is important. I do embed a traditional curricular structure within student-centered activities. Dr. Allen states within his online lectures, "Essentialists say that the child is a learner to be shaped and developed. Essentialists say that the mind is the essential element of reality. That's called idealism." I believe that my progressivism and essentialism philosophies on teaching shape who I am as a teacher. I tie the two theories together to create a special way for me to teach my students.